What's poppin', guys? It's your boy David Hanlon, aka the Laptop Legend, and today we're going to be talking about a massive issue that you're probably making if you're doing Shopify dropshipping that puts you at a pretty high risk of being sued. I've been dropshipping for years and I've literally been making this mistake for my entire career. Here you can see one of my stores so far this month, and yes, I've been making that mistake on this store too. If you want to get daily motivation from results like this or talk to me personally over DMs, feel free to follow me on Instagram because I'm active pretty much daily there. Anyways, hopefully by the time you guys finish this video, you'll have a better understanding of what exactly this issue is, how it applies to your own stores, and how you can prevent from being sued because of it. And no, I'm not talking about Kevin Zhang, by the way. Hopefully you guys should know by this point that it's very illegal to advertise products as made in the US if they're not, and advertise that you donate part of your profits to veterans if you don't. So I think that goes without saying. With that being said, let's get her done. So to give you guys some context, there's a lot of consumer psychology tricks that go into marketing. You know, some are sketchier than others, but all ultimately serve the purpose of getting more customers to buy more stuff from you. I actually talk about some of these consumer psychological flaws in one of my previous videos where I expose how gurus sell overpriced courses by, utilizing these tactics. So check it out here, or you can look at it after this video is over if you want. One of these marketing tricks that you're probably aware of if you do Shopify is the compare at price. And basically what this is it's where in addition to the sale price that you're actually selling the product for, you also have a compare at price, which is like a crossed off price that by comparison makes your price look a lot lower because it's a lot higher. So consumers think that it's on sale and think that they're getting a better deal than they actually are. This strategy has honestly been around for eons, I'm sure, but with the recent dominance of e-commerce and massive online platforms like Amazon, it's a lot easier to compare prices between competitors. So there's been a lot more competition in terms of the amount of percentage off sale that is given. For example, after the housing bubble burst back in 2008 and the average person was earning less money, these retailers had to compete for a smaller pool of overall dollars, and because of this they had to use bigger and bigger discounts. So if I go and look at the data, they did a study and the average discount of major department stores and retailers increased from 25% in 2009 to 36% in 2012. And I'm almost positive that it's higher than this now, but it's tough to find more recent studies. Again, these strategies have been around forever, but the marketers who are utilizing them are usually unaware of all the legal implications that are involved with the pricing structures that they're implementing. And these people are not only the people who work for big companies, like these department stores, but they're also people like you and me who run Shopify stores on our own. Back in December of 2016, Kohl's, Macy's, JCPenney, and Sears all got sued for deceptive pricing strategies. And additionally, the tween apparel brand Justice got sued for $50 million in the same year. The list goes on, and if you do the research, you can find tons of companies where this happened. The reason so many companies have gotten in trouble is because there's overlapping laws from both the federal government and state level governments, and it's very difficult to determine, which ones apply and which exactly you should follow. So it's kind of a gray area, and it's up to your discretion to decide exactly what to follow and what procedures you should go on. I literally went and looked at the original documents, the federal statutes on the FTC website, and I'll put it here and also put a link down in the description if you guys want to go and read further on it. But I basically did this just because I wanted to go straight to the source and know exactly what is legal and what is not. So they start off by saying that if you want to have a sale price, it has to be a price that you actually offer to the public for a reasonably substantial period of time. Honestly, it's pretty vague wording. Like, what exactly is substantial? Who knows? It's kind of up to your interpretation. It could be a year, it could be a month, it could be a day, it could be 9 billion oscillations of the cesium-133 atom, aka 1 second. Like, who knows? It's already pretty unclear, but they go on to say that a former price is not necessarily fictitious merely because no sales at the advertised price were made, which in other words means you don't even have to sell at that higher price for it to be legitimate. Does this seem like a lot? Well, here's the thing. That's only for the before-after sales price. When you change the wording of the different prices, then the laws become different as well. The main terminology that I was particularly concerned about was the compare at pricing, because this is how I run my Shopify stores. And if you look actually within the bulk editor on Shopify's product page, it actually says compare at, so I assume that this is the one that applied most to our situation for e-commerce. The federal guidelines state that if you have a compare at price, you need to make sure that this is the market price overall, like on average within the industry for a similar product of similar quality and value that you're selling. They say specifically, whenever an advertiser represents that he is selling below the prices being charged in his area for a particular article, he should be reasonably certain that the higher price he advertises does not appreciably exceed the price at which substantial sales of the article are being made in that area. To put this in context, back in 2014, the website Overstock.com got sued for $6.8 million because they had a compare to price that was only based on the highest competitor in their industry when everyone else was selling at a lot lower price. So basically, if they say the market price, that doesn't mean the highest one that you can find. It means like what's reasonable in your market and what normal people would be selling it as the price. Unfortunately, like I stated earlier, every single state also has their own laws on this matter, so it really just kind of depends where you live as well. Massachusetts, Ohio, California, and every other state have very different laws, and you need to make sure that depending on where you live, you follow those correctly. It even seems to depend on whether or not you actually advertise at those prices versus whether or not you actually just have them on your website, which is just crazy. Like, there's a ton of factors that go into it. So yeah, I know, I'm sorry. I know it's a lot, and by this point you're probably just like,
David, this is way too much. I just want to know how this applies to me and how I can avoid being sued in my own business.
And alright, let's get into that. The best way to avoid getting sued in your e-commerce website is to adopt Louise the like button from the animal shelter, because honestly, he's really lonely and he needs a family, so go ahead, click that like button. You know you want to. Also, if you've been watching the videos on my channel, you know that Louise the like button is kind of a theme that's been going on, and I'm running out of ideas for what trouble Louise can get into, so if you have any ideas, go ahead and comment them below, and I'll probably use them in one of the next videos. Alright, now back to the main topic of the video. Here's how you can prevent yourself from being sued even with so many crazy laws. The first step is to make sure that whatever compare to price you're using is actually a price that people are selling it for. So go ahead, Google the product that you're selling and see what the average price is in the industry. That's a pretty good, mark for what you can use as your compare to price, or a little bit higher than that. If you're selling, say, I don't know, a cabinet, you could look it up and see what a reasonable price based on your competitors might be. The next step is to remove all language from your website that makes it seem like your compare to price is something that you were previously selling it at, because that would indicate that it's a sale price, and then you have to, go through that whole mess of actually listing it at that, which depends on your state. So the easiest thing to do is just remove all language that does that. There's a lot of Shopify themes that have sale badges and I think it's price savings amount below the price. You can turn most of these features off, and if not within the theme directly, you can actually go edit the code and just remove it. By doing both of these things, you should be pretty much safe, but your level of security kind of depends on the state that you live in. If you live in California, I've got some bad news for you. This is pretty much the worst state in terms of being sued, because this is where all the major lawsuits that at least I was reading about have come from. So if you live in this state, you need to be extra cautious and make sure that you're following all these rules as hard as you can. If you form a single member LLC like I recommend in my e-commerce course, this separates your personal assets from your business assets and ultimately protects you pretty well in a situation like this. If you were to ever get sued, they wouldn't be able to take your house or all the money that you've already taken out of the business. They'd only be able to touch what is in the business. Thankfully, the truth is, unless your store turns into a massive company, you're unlikely to ever be in the crosshairs for one of these lawsuits, because they know that if you're a little company, they're not going to get a lot of money out of you, so you're probably not worth their time. The example that I like to give is this. If you're driving a red Ferrari versus someone who's driving a Honda Accord or a Honda Civic that's dark gray, if you're going the same speed, even if you're speeding, you're the one who's going to get pulled over in the red Ferrari, not the person who's driving the Honda. And that's just because you draw more attention. So in this case, the speed that you're going would be, the amount that you're violating the law or violating the pricing law. But unless you're driving a red Ferrari or, you're a big company, you're not going to get pulled over. But it never hurts to follow the law, as much as you can. So in this case, I do recommend taking all those steps that I recommended, and you're probably going to be totally fine. Ultimately though, guys, as much as I like to argue, I am not a lawyer and I cannot legally provide legal advice. So I recommend just, assuming that I'm lying about all this stuff and taking the time to do your own research, or if you ever get to that point, make sure you hire your own lawyer, and just take care of this, take it seriously, because there have been a lot of companies that have been sued and you don't want to be one of them. That being said, I don't think I'm lying about any of this stuff. I did my best to do the research well, so hopefully you found some useful tips and you can implement some of this stuff in your business and make sure that you're protected, especially if you're in the state of California. Be sure to subscribe That's not subscribing, that's liking. Be sure to subscribe and turn on the notification bell because I'm gonna be giving away cold hard cash as soon as I get this channel monetized. Also, remember to join my new Facebook group for entrepreneurs. I'll put the link for that in the description, but essentially what it is I'm trying to form a group of like-minded people who are, success driven and just share and help each other out. So if that sounds like something you'd be interested in, feel free to join, and I accept, a couple times a day, so I'll let you in. But yeah, I think that's about it for this video, guys. So remember to set those goals and crush them. And yeah, I think I'll see you in the next video. In the meantime, let's grow better together. Bebé, dime por qué te mientes. No puedes esconder todo lo que tú por mí sientes.